Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us at the UK User Group. My name's Leon Gordon, and we're back for another fantastic and exciting session. Today, we're going to be going through some of the common data tasks made easy with David Abu. Now, as you all know, we want this to be a fantastically interactive session, so please do join in on the Q&A. So any questions throughout, then please feel free to ask. Also, it'd be really great to understand where you're all dialing in from as well. So please do let us know in the Q&A where you are based, and we can go from there. So I'll just go through and give a bit of background around David. So David is a global cloud advocate for Power BI at Microsoft, with comprehensive accomplishments in applying data visualization, data modeling, data structuring, and data analytics to ensure success and achieve goals using Microsoft Power BI. David is also a community builder, a public speaker of digital technologies, and also a member of the Power Platform community leaders in Nigeria. His goal is to make people fall in love with the Power Platform. So without any further ado, I will hand you over to David.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So I'm in Lagos, Nigeria, and everywhere is just quiet. No rain yet in the new year. So we're trying as much as possible to stay indoor from COVID. I hope you guys are safe. I know what COVID is doing all over the world. So thank you for bringing me in, Leon. Okay, cool. We'll be talking about common data types made easy. One of the things about analytics or data analysis is that we want to stop repeating tasks. So you get some data sets in Excel or CSV or anywhere you get your data set, and you want to try as possible to be able to analyze your reports faster and to be able to clean your report. So imagine you have a data set. Today, Leon sent me a data set and I try to clean it today. I do the report. Tomorrow, Leon sent me again. I try to repeat it again and do the report. And the next day again is a whole lot. Is a whole lot. How can we just try and automate some of these tasks and to be able to do some productive work around data? So we're going to move on after this introduction. So who is David? Leon has done some introduction about who David is. So I work currently with Microsoft and I'm a cloud advocate for Power BI. And also I work with the Power Platform Nigeria User Group, where we do so many things about community and about Power Platform. You can reach me on LinkedIn, Twitter, and my YouTube channel. Yeah, thank you. So let's go right into what we have today. Now, as I said, that most of the things that we want to do is to be able to look at how can we automate these tasks? How can we automate these processes? And the tool that we're going to be using to do this is the Power Query. Power Query is the tool that we're going to use to automate these tasks and to be able to see how good that you can move from point A to point B easily. One thing is that 70% of the time, or let's say 60% of the time, is that we are cleaning data sets before even visualizing it or before analyzing them. So most of the time we spend hours, minutes, days trying to clean data sets. There was a time I was trying to clean a data set and it took us 1 week to clean that data set. And we have like 38 files of that data set, millions of rows. So you want to be able to understand how to do this faster. This session is in the next 45 minutes, so we'll see how we can roll very fast. What is this session going to cover? The first thing is introduction to Power Query. What is Power Query? Some of us already know what Power Query is, but for those who are joining in for the first time or who are in Power BI or data analytics for the first time, we're going to explain what Power Query is. And we're going to look at the Power Query interface. What does it look like? When I see Power Query, what is it? Then the 7 golden rules of data management. This is so important when making your tasks easy so that you understand what the report will be like at the end is so important to understand the rules of data management. And then we go to the demo. The demo is important. So you can ask your questions, but I'm going to answer them at the end of the session so that I can present what I have. Then I go into the Q&A session. Thank you. So now, what is Power Query? Power Query is data transformation and data preparation engine. The major thing that you're trying to use Power Query to do is to extract the data set from anywhere it is and to clean that data set. That is the major thing. You want to extract it. So where we're extracting it, we are looking at different data sources. So if your data source is in web, is in Excel, is in CSV, is in Azure, is in Dataverse, is in Excel, anywhere your data is, you want to take it out from SQL, anywhere it is, you want to take it out and say, okay, fine, I am extracting this data, then I want to transform the data set. So now we call Power Query like ETL tool. So E for extract, T for transform, and L for load. I'm sorry, I like to take it slow. I'm more of a teacher, so just stay with me. So ETL tool, ETL, then the L is for load. So where are you loading it to? You're loading it to either your visualization engine majorly. Most of the time, you load it to your visualization engine, Power BI, and the rest. So now, if you look at the picture here, you have different places that Power BI directly works with. So it works with Excel. So there's Power Query in Excel. So if you go to data, you're going to see get and transform data icon. You go from there and you go into your Power Query. You are going to see connections there. So Power Query is in your Excel. Then you go to Power BI. Power BI, Excel also is in Power BI. And Power Query has its online version, what we call the data flows in Power BI. So for those who use Power BI service, you know something called data flows in Power BI. But in the desktop version, is what we call the Power Query. Now, there's a language that Power Query use is called the M language. Now, is it a must you learn the M language? But it's not. The idea about Power Query is for you to click. As far as you understand what you're trying to do, is for you to just click around and you will be fine. So now let's go. Now, this is the interface of Power Query. If you look at it, the number one is the ribbon interface. So now, if you notice, you have home, transform, add column, view, and help. Now, the home, transform, add column, these are the places that you try and look for tools that helps you, or should we call it tools right now? Let's call it tools, or icons or functions that helps you clean the data sets that you have. The number two is what we call queries. Queries is also what we call data sets. So if I take a data set from Excel, it comes to queries and it becomes, let's say the name of the Excel file is called customers. It becomes customer. So if I bring another one from, let's say, CSV file, so every of those places that I get those data set from any sources, they become queries. We call them queries because we are querying our data set. Now, then we have number three is what we call the current view, where we have the data set view itself, where how your data looks like. That is how it comes in and it becomes your number three that we have there. Number four is what we call the query setting. Now, the query setting is so important because that is where we have every step you make when transforming your data sets. Remember, we said Power Query transform your data, clean down your data. The steps that you make in doing that is stored or it is shown in your query setting, and it's called that apply step. So you're going to see those steps that you take. Now, and then fifth one is the status bar. The status bar just gives you a summary of what is happening in your normal view, which is the data view side, which is the number three. Whatever is happening there, it shows you the column, the rows, and everything. it shows you. So I'm looking at the time so that I don't miss the things I need to do. Now we need to look at the data management side. What are the rules that govern the data management of data sets when you want to clean the data set? So I made a tweet this morning to explain the 7 golden rules of data sets. So what is the number one? The number one has to be with one rule of heading. So if you're cleaning your data set, the first thing you should always think is, at the end of it all, my data set must have one rule of heading. So if you have customer name, if you have product name, if you have values, if you have sales, if you have, let's say, numbers, it must have just one rule of heading. It's a must. It must have one rule of heading. The next thing that you want to look at is no empty rows. It's so important. When working with analytics or when cleaning your data sets, when doing those your tasks, you must understand that in that data, there is no empty rows. You want to look at no empty columns. Just same thing, no empty rows, no empty columns. Make sure you delete everything that empty. Now, I did not say empty cells. They can be empty cells, but not column. Column means a full line. There is no top to bottom. There is no any data set. Just remove it since it shouldn't be empty. We have no obstruction around your data. So this is so important. When you have your data set, if your data set is between column A to E, then it should be between column A to E. Don't put anything that doesn't make sense to the data set. So it's important. You have all data must be in a single column. It's important. The only time that you might have multiple dates is, let's say you have order dates, you have let's say sent date, something like that. So it's so important. Those 2 dates is so important. But it's always good you don't have dates across the rows. You have it, one column is for the date, one column for date. You have every unique data must have its own column. Now, what do we mean when we say every unique data set? So now, if you have a column and you have country and state, let's assume we have country and state. So imagine I write England under country, and under country I wrote London. It doesn't make sense. There are 2 different data types, because London is actually under states and why England is under country. So you have to be sure of how your data set is. And the last one that I have here is no total or subtotal. Your data set should not have total or subtotal. So right now, we're now going to go into the demo, and let's see if we could do something in the next 30 minutes. So let's go to the demo. Yeah. So now, let me go to, So now this is Power BI. And right now, you can see that we now want to upload a data set. So let me show you, let me try and show you the data set that we want to clean. Let me show you the data sets that we want to clean. Let me bring it to my screen. Okay. Sorry, my network is kind of slow. Okay, so now if you look at this, I'm going to increase the size right now. So if you look at this right now, you will notice something. If you notice, you'll notice that if you look at our rules, you see that we said that it has to have one row of heading, one row. But you've noticed this have like 3 rows. See the first row, the second row, and the third row. So it's so much. We just need one row of heading. So we need to transform this data. Sometimes your data doesn't get dirty up to this like this, but there's some data that is dirty more than this. So let's see what Power Query helps us to clean this data set so that we can always have a very clean data when we want to work. So let's see. So I'm going to close this. I want to upload it now to my Power BI. So I want to upload to my Power BI. I just go to my data source, get data. or I click on Excel workbook, anyone I want to do. So since it's an Excel file, I'll click on Excel workbook and let me bring in the data set. So one of also the things that we have to look at is whenever you're looking at Power Query, the mindset is you need to understand how the end goal of your data set. What is the end goal of your data set? What do you want your data set to achieve when working with Power Query and when making your tasks look very, 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 very easy? So we're going to do that now, and let's see. I think my in, I don't know what is wrong right now. Okay, let's see. It's still loading. Sorry.
No problem at all, David. You mentioned as well some of the key areas in terms of cleaning your data before preparation. Are there any benefits to having, as you mentioned, no blank rows?
Yes. So because your data set needs to have a very complete rows and columns. So you don't need to have anything empty. If you have empty, then your data set, the results that you're trying to bring might not be what you are going to get. One. And another thing there is that there is nothing that you're calculating, because when you're calculating, you're depending on a column or on a row. And if you look at immediately you have an empty row, it divides your data into two. It doesn't even complete your data set. So that is the first issue that you're going to have. The second one, when you have no column, is that it also splits those your data set into two. So I just don't want to go into each and every one of them. So, but if you look at it, take an Excel file, divide the Excel by one row, empty a full row, and do Control A. You'll notice that the data set has been divided into two. So imagine you're working and your data set is divided into two without you knowing. So this is something that you have to take note of when following those rules. I hope I've been able to answer that question.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so let's see. So now I don't know, I hope this thing doesn't slow down our time. Okay, good. So now instead of me clicking load takes me to Power BI, but that's not what we want to achieve. We want to take it to transform to clean our data set. So let's go to Power Query. Now you don't download Power Query. Power Query is already embedded in those tools. So either it's Excel or Power BI is embedded in it. So you just have to go to where it is. So now the interface will open for us to start working on it soon.
That's okay. It's just taking a few moments to load there. So for users that are joining us and that are familiar with using Power Query within Excel, are there any differences that they need to be aware of in using Power Query in Power BI?
Not much difference. No, it's actually the same. Updates might be different, but most of it are actually the same. Sometimes, most of the time, I even use the one in Excel more because it is good sometimes. So there's really not much different. The language sometimes might be different a little bit, but they are actually the same. Just go to your data, click data. You see get data, get and transform data. Click it. You're going to see the different from source, from workbook, and everything like that. You're going to see everything, and from there you can start working on your interface. So I'm going to open it. It has opened on another of my screen. So let me just bring it to the main screen.
Perfect.
Yeah. So now let me increase this thing. Let me see. So now this is the same data sets that we saw in Excel. So now those empty things that we saw in Excel becomes null when we got here. So now, if you remember, so we have our apply step on your right-hand side. The apply step tells you the steps that we have taken over time. Then you have on your left-hand side, you have the queries, you have the main board itself that shows the data set. So, but the first step that you make that I do, and I encourage you to do when cleaning your data set, is to first cancel the last two steps that was given to you. Now, if you look at my step here, you're going to see change type and promoted headers. Please always cancel it. Make sure that whatever you have is just source and navigation. Your source tells you where you're bringing it from. Your navigation tells you how you navigated down to Power Query. So now I'm going to cancel change type and I'm going to cancel promoted headers. What it also means is that it's now going to show me the same thing that we have in Excel. What promoted headers and change type was that Power Query said, I am an intelligence guy. So Leon, don't worry, let me help you clean the first two steps that I think you need. But that is not what we want. We know what we want to do. So we're going to tell it, hey, Power Query, calm down. I'm going to do it myself. So this is the things that we have currently, and we're going to now start cleaning them as we go. So the first thing we want to do is this. If you look at our data sets, we have three levels of data sets, 3 rows of data set, but that's not what we want. We want to be able to make them have each of their columns. So you see what I'm going to do is this, I'm going to do something called transpose. I'm going to transpose them. What transpose means is that I'm going to turn all columns to rows and all rows to columns. That's what I want to do. I'm turning all columns to rows and all rows to columns. So I'm going to go to transform. I'm going to see, you're going to go to the transform tab and I'm going to click on transpose. I'm going to click on transpose. So when I click on transpose, so you're going to see what happens right now. So now you can notice that the third step now have something that we call the transpose table. So now you're going to now notice that the main board, everything has changed from rows to column. So you will notice that now you see ship mode, segments, order date, they will now become a column, not they'll become columns, but they will not be in rows. They will not be in rows. So let's wait a little bit. It's kind of just slow.
It's no problem. Teams does add a little bit of overhead as well. So we do have a question, so it might be worthwhile taking that question now from Roosevelt. So Roosevelt asks, please, what is the critical use of Power BI when we have Excel, even in the aspect of visualization?
Okay, so now in the aspect of visualization, this is it. The differences between Excel and Power BI is that Excel does a whole lot of stuff. Even Excel is a monster on its own. But the real thing there is that you cannot compare the level of visualizations in Excel to compare to Power BI. Power BI has so many visualizations, so many, I won't say hundreds, but so many visualizations. But you can say Excel has the normal custom visualization that we have. Excel, you have the bar chart, the pie chart, histogram, line chart, and stuff like that. But in Power BI, you have more. You have more, and you're going to see it. Hopefully, there is time, but you're going to see it. But they are so way different, so way different. And Power BI gives you so many power to do so many things, even apart from Power Query and stuff like that. And also your data modeling is far better. Data modeling, your DAX. A whole lot of people have issues sometimes working with DAX using Power Pivot and Excel, but it's far better using it inside Power BI. But you're going to see how we do that. So now we've done the transpose. You're going to see this. So we have first day, second day, same day, second class, and standard class. But right now, what I want to do first, if you notice, my column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, they don't mean anything. So I want to change. You will notice that in the row 1, they actually have the column name that we need. So we are taking them up right now. So I'm going to use first row as header. First row as header, which means that all my first row, please take them up. My first row, kindly take them up. And that is what will happen right now. That is what will happen right now. So let's see. So now you can see now, you now have ship mode, segment, and order date. So this is what happens. Now, but you will notice that segment looks clean. You need to note that segment looks clean, but ship mode does not look clean. We need to fill in those null. Those null are actually first class, first class, same day, same day, same day. Second class, second class, second class, then standard class, standard class, standard class. So there's something in Power Query that helps you fill them, and it's called the fill down option. So I'm going to click fill down. If you go to transform tab, you're going to see fill down. Then it's going to help us fill them down. Now, you can use your right eye to start looking at your apply step. Your apply step has been growing over time. When we started from source and navigation, you see that it has been growing. And now you'll notice now we have ship mode and segment being cleaned up. But if you look, the dates are somehow, the dates spreading down to the right hand side. But we want whereby the dates and the value becomes a column. They don't become rows, they become columns. So what we are going to do is to unpivot them. So see what I want to do. I'm going to click both ship mode and segment and tell that, hey, Power Query, everything on the right hand side, please bring them and turn them upside down to become columns. So I want to see columns. So now you're going to see, I'm going to right click right now, and on pivot, you're going to see on pivot other column. So on pivot column means the one I selected, it should be on pivot. On pivot columns means on pivot columns. On pivot other columns means the one I selected, don't pivot them, on pivot the other ones. On pivot only selected column means on pivot only the ones that I have selected. But right now we're going to pick on pivot other columns. So you're going to see what we have right now. Now our data is getting cleaner. You can see the dates, the date and the value. They are making more sense, but there's something wrong here. You have my underscore 16 underscore 18 underscore 20, 40 underscore 53. We need to make sure that we remove them. How do we remove them? There's something in Power Query called splits. Now, just by clicking, we are automating those processes just by clicking. So now I want to split this column, but in the space that if I split it, it should be with the underscore sign, which means leave the date, but split from the underscore sign. That is what we want to do. So you're going to see split column at the top here. Then you can split by so many things: delimiter, number of character, position, lowercase to uppercase, and different ones. But we are picking the delimiter. And right now the delimiter will be underscore. It says which sign do we want to start with to remove, to differentiate, or to split the column. So we're waiting for you to bring out a box. Yeah, good. So now you notice that because it's intelligent enough, it was thinking that we want to split it by the slash sign, but we don't want to split by slash sign. We want to split it by the underscore sign. And I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click OK. So you can see right now, it has now been splitted by the underscore sign. So now we don't need the attribute .2. We'll just delete them, and now you start seeing that we are already getting our clean data sets. We're already getting it little by little. So let's see. So now the next thing that we want to do now is that we have been able to clean one data, but assuming that we have series of data sets that let's say they are already clean, but we want to see how you automate them. You know that this type of data set will always come every time. Leon will always send me this data set every time. How do I automate it whereby I don't clean it every time? I just clean it once and I don't clean it every time. So let's look at it. So we're waiting a little bit for it to show. Are there questions, Leo?
We do have a couple. So I think you're gonna maybe answer this question as we go into the next session, but I'll ask it anyway. It's an anonymous question, and they ask: can we schedule a dataset refresh in Excel on the file server / local machine?
A dataset refresh? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I think I've worked on that before. Yes, true. Yeah, that is when you're done your pivot table. Yes, there's a place in Excel whereby you can actually refresh your data sets. Yes, but I have to just check and confirm. But yes, I think you can. Yeah.
Okay, no problem at all. And we have another question from Jeremiah. When you were cleaning the data, the second step, they want to know, how did you move the row you wanted as your top row up?
Okay, so I used so now if you go to transform tab, you see your second the second it looks like a table picture, a table icon. It says use first row as headers. That's what I did. I used first row as headers.
Excellent. Thank you for confirming that for us. That's all of the questions we have currently.
Okay, cool. So now I have deleted this. I want to delete the attribute dot two because we don't really need it. Really, we don't really. Now we have the four. So now our data is clean. So I can change the attribute dot one to date. My value, I can give it the value that it needs. So I can just change the ABC because you have to give it the data type that you need. So the data type can change to, let's say, the fixed decimal because they are dollars, or let's say their amount, so like that. But how do we work with so many data sets that we have in Excel? So now let me show you something. So let's assume that we have the different, we have like 3 or 4 data sets. So let's look at this. Let's see. So if you look at my sales data, my sales folder, we have, so we're going to have like 3 data sets. So Leon sent me, so we've cleaned the first data set. Notice we've cleaned our first data set. So I just come into Leon's company, and Leon said, David, we have so many of the data sets, please clean it. I've cleaned the first one, which I've shown you. But after a while, Leon said, oh, David, you've done from 2000 and 2015, but I want to give you 2017, 2018, 2019. I have to think of a way so that Leon in February does not send me other type and says, oh, he forgot to send me this type of data set. So I have to clean very fast. I have to think, how do I do it very fast? So I have these 3 data sets, but I don't want to pick them one by one. So I'm going to use something in Power Query called the folder path. So now let's go to the folder path. So let's go back to my Power Query. So now I'm going to go back to home. So you go to your new source, you pick your folder, and you go to that folder part where you have your different Excel or your different data sets. So I'm going to pick them right now. Good. So you notice we have the 3 data sets. So you can see we have binary 2017, 2018, but there's something here. It has combine and transform data sets. So it means that it wants to help us combine them and give us a one single data set. And that is what we want. That is what we want. We want it to do that for us. So let's see. If you have questions, Leon, you can be giving me. I can be answering them.
No problem at all. We don't have any further questions at the moment. So as we kind of explore this concept of combining multiple data sets and files at source, is there any best practice that you would recommend? So would you feel that these files should be located on directly on somebody's computer, on a shared drive, SharePoint? Are there any tips you can give at all?
Yeah, so it depends. So there's something in Excel, in Power Query that we do, whereby you give it a name, and is that name. So I'm going to look at it, parameters. So you can use manage parameters. So even though it's on your own system, you can use parameters, give me the name, the key, and when it's coming to my own system, I can just use the same name, and it's going to be cleaned immediately. So yeah, it's good for you to use parameters, or again, what you can do is that it should be on a shared file. Or the top thing is that if I have the same files as you, I can clean the data set and I can give you the code through advanced editor, I send it to you, and it's cleaned. Same thing. So there's so different ways for you to do it. Yeah.
Perfect.
So
Thank you.
now I am going to use this. I'm going to pick a file. So I'm going to click sales, sales. Then, so now this is asking me for just, David, oh, pick your first file. Let's look at the first file. So that's just what it's asking for. That is my first file. I'm going to click OK. So when I click OK, what I expect is that it's going to give me one file that has added the O3 data sets, the O3 data sets together. So let's see. Now you can also explore all other places on your Power Query. There's so many other things I've not done in Power Query that you can explore. So imagine that you bring in a data set and your first three columns, your first three rows have nothing that has to do with them. There's something called remove rows on Power Query that helps you to remove. Let's say you want to remove the first three rows, you just type 3 and it removes the first 3 rows. Let's say the bottom also have issues. You are going to see it also that says remove the bottom, let's say bottom 3 rows, some things like that. You can always, and also you can always replace values. So let's assume that you want all first class to change to second class. You can click first class and tell it to change to second class. There's so many things that you can do in Power Query. You just need to explore. You need to explore them. So this thing, I want to do this because I want to take you to a place called appending queries, and hopefully there is time for us to do that, where we can append our queries.
Yep, no problem at all, David. So we do have another question that's coming from Roosevelt, and they ask, apart from combining and transforming from a folder, is there any possibility of syncing data without manually choosing data? And by this, they mean just dropping data into a folder and Power BI automatically transforming it.
Exactly. That is the end goal of what I'm trying to do now. So stay, you're going to see it. So what I want to do is that I want to be able to clean this, make sure it is perfect, take it to my Power BI, do just 1 or 2 visualization. Then I will tell Leon, give me the Onyx data set. I will throw it to inside the folder, and I should expect that the folder, I don't do anything. The only thing I just do is I click refresh. That's the only thing I will just do. I'll just click refresh. So I want you to just stay on the call, and let's see how we do that. So now you will notice right now that it gave so many things. So your folder gives me the transform file from sample, Power Query, sample file. So if I want to clean anything, anytime I am cleaning something, anytime I'm cleaning, let's say I want to clean the first one automatically have effect on the major data set. So something like that, and that is how you have this transform sample file. Let's look at our sales data. It's still loading right now. Just look at it.
That's fine, David. Just while it does load, we've had an anonymous question come in, and they ask, can someone join the data from different Excel files with different columns?
No, it has to be the same columns. It has to be. So you can't bring in, and you're going to see it where we have this issue. We are going to have that same issue here. If you have different columns, you can't join them. They have to be, and even they have to be the same name, the same headings. So that one goal of heading has to be the same. If they're not the same, they can't join. Then there's no key that is bringing them in. They can't join. It has to be the same. But you can bring in from different data source. I can bring in a file from CSV, from Excel, from let's say from web, but you have to transform them in a way that they have the same column name. So if they have 4 columns, everything must have 4 columns. If it has 5 columns, everything must have 5 columns. So now, if you look at this right now, you can see the source name. So if I'm going to click this right now, you're going to see something. So now it's going to load and tell me that we have, 2017, 2018. It should bring out the 2019. Let's see. So you can see now those 3 years are already inside just this one file. So that is it. So we know that we are correct. in what we're doing. So sometimes we don't really need this source name. We don't need this source name. So what I'm going to just do is that I'm going to delete this source name. In analysis, we really don't need it. Maybe we might want to maybe debug some things when we're having issues. That is fine. But when we know that we're good to go, we don't need it. So now let's see. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete the source name. Now notice we have 4 columns. In our data 2, and this also will answer the last question. We also have 4 columns. So now we want to bring together the 2. So now what we are going to do is append. Append means add the columns, add the new data set underneath the first one. So if you have 4 data sets, at the end of the last row, please add this other one to it. That's what it means. That is append. For merge means add to the right. Merge means add to the right. Append means add at the bottom. That's just what it means. So now we want to append at the bottom. So we're going to append at the bottom, append queries as new. I'm going to click append queries as new. If there are questions, Leon, let me just know.
That's fine. We do have a question just coming in now from Jeremiah. And Jeremiah asks, is it possible to just load the data into a folder and refresh and have Power BI clean them automatically? It means the data must be the same as the previous ones. Is that correct? Or any data can be thrown into the folder and can be transformed?
Not any data. They must be the same, please. Not any data. But the first thing is that you have to first clean it for yourself. You see the first thing that we did when we cleaned 32. You have to clean it so that subsequent one, you are just throwing it into the folder. So now let's do this. So now we are going to clean sales data. Then we're going to click OK. But you will notice something. We now have six columns. Doesn't make sense. We have 6 columns. So you have to now ask, it's supposed to be 4, but we have 6. So you notice attribute 1 and other date. It means both of them have different names. We have to pick one name for both of them. So now I have to go to my 32 and say, oh, 32, I have to change your name from attribute 1 to other date. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I will change it from attribute 1 to other date. Other date. Let me see. No. It's not what I want. Now you will notice automatically it will reduce the append 1. That is the new file that we just created. You will notice that it will now reduce. So let's go to append 1. So let's load. It's loading. It's going to refresh on its own. We are going to now notice that if there are questions, Leon, we can be answering them.
Excellent. So we do have one question that's coming from Lee, and Lee asks, could you use a transformation table to match columns with different names if we know what the different names are for the columns?
Yes. So let me get it. Can you ask a question? Let me be sure. If you want to match one.
So in our previous, one of our previous questions were if we had 2 different data sets whereby the column headers were different, would they be able to match? And we answered that question by saying no. What Lee's asked is if we had a transformation mapping table to transform the column names so they did match, would we then be able to use those as part of the relationship?
Yes, but it's going to be good for you if you can now start renaming them and give them one name. That would be the best. If you have mapped them already, so now there are some times that you're working with different data sets and you've mapped that, okay, this can connect to this can connect to this. That is on paper, but when you're now working, it's good for you to give them a uniform name, and that makes it easier for you to connect them. And even Power Query and Power BI easily connects them immediately because they already have the same unique name. So it's easy that way. So instead of you going through that stress of you picking them one after the other. It's just stressful. And imagine you need to connect like 15 columns together, and they are different. So that is another thing. So now you notice that we have values and sales. So we have to go and pick. So what do we think? So I'm going to go to, let me go to sales data and tell sales data that sales data, hey, change to values. So change to values this time. So I'm going to give it change to values. So I'm going to tell you to change to values. Then let's see our append. Our append should be fine right now. So you notice that because you're trying to automate these processes, so you don't want to be going over and over again. So that is the major thing. So that's why it's good for you to have a very good naming convention, so that it's easy for you to clean this your data set as fast as possible. As fast as possible. Okay, so now let's see, it's taking a little bit of time, but now I definitely know that it's going to get cleaned up and we're going to be fine. But the next thing is that we want to load these data sets to Power BI. But if we load this data set to Power BI, the 3 data sets will go to Power BI. That is not what we want. We want whereby it is only the append one. We can change the name of append one to big data or big sales table, something like that. We only that one we want it to load to Power BI, so that it feeds from data2 and sales data going forward. But it doesn't load to Power BI because we don't need it in Power BI. All our data is already in the append one. So now, you notice one is called value, one is called values. So you see that it's so important for you to understand your naming convention, and it's so important. So we're going to now go here and change it to value. So when we do that, then we are fine. So now how do we make sure that 32 and sales data does not load to Power BI? So I'm going to right click sales data, and I'll tell you that it has marked already to enable load by default, but I don't want it to enable load. So I'm going to click it and tell it don't enable load. That's just what I'm telling you. I'm clicking that, hey, don't enable load. That means don't load to Power BI. I'm going to tell 32 too. I'll say, hey, 32, my man, don't also load to Power BI. So we're going to do that. So let's see. So I'm going to right click right now. Say, okay, don't load also to Power BI. So now that we say both of them don't load to Power BI, so we're going to now say now we're going to now load our Power BI. We're going to load the data sets append one to Power BI. So I'm just going to go up there, and I'm just going to click. So let's click close and apply. So let's see close and apply. So it's going to go to Power BI right now. So we're going to Power BI, and this is where we'll now notice why it is good for us to automate all these processes, so that when Leo sends the next data sets to work with, it's going to be fine. So let's see.
Excellent. Just while that data there loads, David, we do have an anonymous question, and they ask, does it make a difference that they're modifying the column name in sales data as to deleting the additional column with null values in append one?
Can we take it again?
Does it make a difference in modifying the column name in sales data as to deleting the additional column with null values in append one?
Okay, in append one. So no, you can't delete them because you don't delete them, they are values. So what happened was that the value in sales data is actually the same with the values in the data2. They're just different values for different data sets. So you want to make sure that it is where they are. So you don't delete them. They are actually important to your data sets. make sure you don't delete them. They're not the same. They are actually important for you. They're actually important. If you notice, if you scroll down, you're actually going to see that they're actually important. This is something you have to note. They are actually very, 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 very important. Please. Deleting columns, you are very sure that you don't need them. But when you are appending, you actually need those things that you are adding together. That is just as if I am fair, Leon is fair. So it means that, okay, you can bring us together. That's just what it means. So, but you don't say, oh, because we're not connecting, it means that maybe because I'm in Lagos and he's in London, that's why we're not connecting. But immediately you change our connection to London, or Lagos. Both of us will connect immediately. So that's just what you should look at from that perspective. Yeah. I hope I've been able to answer that question.
Excellent. Yes, thank you.
So we are just waiting for it to load. Then we're going to do just one report, and we are done for the presentation. But if the more questions are coming in, please ask questions.
Excellent, thank you. I will go into the QA. We have put some of the Power Query documentation links as well into the Q&A. So if anybody wants to take a further look at some of the underlying documentation from Microsoft on Power Query, then feel free to do so.
Great. So just taking time to load. Okay, so in a few seconds now, it's going to load. So you can, as I'm appending, I can see 2019 is the one that is appending right now, which is the last file that is appending and everything like that. So definitely now start seeing them coming, getting ready for us to do. So we're just going to do a card visual, a very big card visual. And we're going to see the amount of the sales of the value. When we see that amount, we'll now go again to the folder part and say, hey, let's drop a new data set into this folder. Then we'll now refresh our Power BI. And let's see if the amounts that we have will change. And going forward, the only thing is that what that card visual means is that when we are done building all our reports, all our dashboard, then the only thing is that we just want to be dropping those data sets. So let's see. So it has loaded, so just wait a couple of minutes and we bring in a card visual. And again, in Excel, there's really nothing like card visual. Like it's just as simple as card visual. You hardly see that. So so let's see this card visual. So I'm going to click card visual. So on my right hand side is what we call the visualization pane, and we call the field pane. So I'm going to click on the part. See, this is our card visual. So I'm going to increase it. Good. So right now I've increased it. Let me see. So I want to open up my field. So you can see on my right hand side, I'm going to bring in values. Bring in values. So it's going to give us an amount. So let's see the amount that is in those data sets that we are making. Let's say the sales amount that we're making. So this now means that, oh, we built all our reports. But now, next month, I'm waiting for Leon to give me the data sets that we need for the next month. And this time, I don't need to clean it again, look at it and stuff like that. I just need to dump it into the folder. So we're waiting a little bit, just kind of slow. Let's see. If there are more questions, please, Leon, we can answer them.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. We do have a question around how the data was pivoted and unpivoted, but we can probably, it's up to you if you want to go through that now.
Okay, so now, so how it was, if you go to, so there are different places in Power Query that you can use to pivot or unpivot. So when you right click a column, you're going to see it. on pivot, on pivot, on pivot, on pivot column, on pivot selected column, and on pivot all other columns. So that's how you do that. Just right click, you see it, or you go to transform, you see on pivot columns. Then when you click the drop down on pivot column, you see the options there, and you can on pivot. So now we have 690,000. 690,000, something like that. So now, you know what? Can we see that? Let me just increase it a little bit. So let me go to my format. Let me go to my format and let me increase the numbers a little bit so that we can see the changes as we go. Okay, so let's see. So, Leon, can you see the 690?
I can indeed, yes.
Okay, good. So now, good. So now, you know what? So now we're going to now come here. Now we want to go and change the data set and see what we have. Let's see if the 690 will change. We want to go and bring in a new data set. So now I'm going to go to my folder now. I'm going to my folder. So this is my folder. It has 3 folders. So we have 2017, 2018, 2019. So I'm going to come here. So don't worry. I'm just picking up a data set and joining it. That's just what I want to do. So this is the assumption that Leon has given me a new data set and he expects to see an additional report. That's just what he wants, an additional metric or based on my report. So now I want to add it here. So you notice we now have 4 here now. I've added, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what we have. So notice I did not do anything. So I just added, just drop it and I added. So now let's see. So now that we have this, we still have our 690. So now the only thing I want to do is to refresh this value. So let's see. Hopefully it works. So let's see. So let's refresh and let's see. So it's refreshing right now. So now it means that it's just because of everything that we're working on, but normally in seconds, 1 minute, let's say at least almost 1 minute, everything, you have your new data set. So this automates all your processes and it just makes your data easy and stuff like that. So it has loaded and let's see, we are waiting for the numbers to change. So we hopefully change from 690 goes further ahead. So the card visual is loading. The card visual is loading. So now it has changed. Thank you very much. I hope you've learned something in today's Power Query class. Thank you, Leon.
Excellent. Thank you very much there, David. Again, some fantastic information there on how to use Power Query to automate, like you mentioned, common data tasks and to how to process also new data as well, which is fantastic. It doesn't look like at this moment in time we have any further questions coming in. I'll just give that a moment. Okay. Okay, so no, if we don't have any further questions coming in, David, then what I'd like to do is just give you a moment just to talk through again where people can find you on social media.
Okay, good. On my LinkedIn, you have just David Abu on all my social media, David Abu. You can connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn. If you learned something, just reach out and say, oh, David, you want more information or something, I'll gladly send you many things. And also, most of the things I've talked about is in Microsoft Learn. You can just go to Microsoft Learn and learn more about Power Query data flows. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, David. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here with us, and hopefully we can have you back with us again in the future. And again, thank you to everybody that's joined us as well from all over the world to learn more with the Microsoft Power BI UK user group. This session has been brought to you in association with Onyx Data. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you've been here with us. So stay safe and see you soon. Take care.